God Network News,
where we give you a new perspective
on events happening in our world today.
This is GNN.
This is God Network News, episode 31. Welcome, GNN fans, to another episode of God Network News, the podcast that tells you what God's doing around the world. Not what CNN tells you, but what GNN tells you is going on in the world. If you're tired of listening to all of that crisis network news and you want to hear what God's doing, well, give us a listen. We want to also thank all of our God Network News listeners for faithfully listening to us and also for putting comments in the comment section. Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much for all the other listeners. You're faithful listening to God Network News. We will continue to give you good content as the Lord continues to do great things in the world. On this episode of GNN, we're going to be listening to another really exciting short testimony of a redemptive analogy, which is what we call in missions work a key to touching the hearts of people in a particular culture about the gospel message. So it could be a theme, it could be a proverb or some kind of moral or a story that's in the culture itself that God has left himself a witness within, so that we can actually take a hold of that key and utilize it to present the gospel message in a way that makes much more sense to the people. And also they see it as being their God, their message, rather than a foreign gospel or a foreign God. And so here's an example of that, and it is about a missionary who used to work in the jungles of Asia.
One day we were traveling in the mountains in the northern part of the country in which we work. Many people groups live in that region, but it's a blacklisted area and foreigners aren't allowed to go there. But because we felt we needed to know what people groups lived there in order to develop a strategy to reach them, we decided to take a risk. And so I got in the back of a pickup truck and they covered me over with a tarp, and I was lying in the corner as we approached the military checkpoint. The military started to check our truck and ask all kinds of questions, but for some reason, they didn't look under the tarp. And so we were cleared and we made our way up into the mountains of that region. We came to a small village, and we stopped in that place, and we got out and we were met by the village elder. He asked us what we were doing there, where we were going, and we said, well, we have just come to visit you in your village. And so he invited us up into his hut, and all of the men of the village came, and were all sitting together talking. I said to the man, I said, do you own all of the property around here? Oh, he said, we used to, but not now. I said, what happened? Oh, the spirits have required so much from us, so many sacrifices. We had to sell all of our land to other neighboring villages in order to buy the buffalo and the pigs and the chickens to offer as sacrifices. Now we're very poor. Now we have nothing. Oh, I said, I'm so sorry to hear about this. But I said, I came today to tell you about a spirit greater than the spirit you fear, a spirit who doesn't require that kind of sacrifice, because he has already provided a sacrifice himself. Would you like to hear the story? The village elder said, oh yes, I would like to hear this story. And so all of the men just quieted down, and I turned to my national co-worker who could speak their language, and I said, tell them the story of the God of creation. And so he began to tell them about creation and the God that loved them. And After we'd been talking maybe 10 or 12 minutes, the village elder turned to those sitting beside him, and they just began to chatter in their language. Now, my national co-worker was speaking in a kind of a business trade language, but it wasn't the language of their tribe. And now they're talking in their own language, and so we don't even know what they're saying. And suddenly the elder turns back to us and says in the national trade language, "We have a legend that's been handed down from generation to generation in our tribe, that one day a man with white skin would come to our village, and this man would have a book, and the book would describe the true and great Spirit. Now, you're the only white man we've ever seen. Are you the one who has a book that can tell us about the greatest Spirit of all?" I said, "I am, and that's what I've come here to tell you." And so we went on to tell about the living God, and I showed them the book that told the story of the living God. We happened to have with us a Christian who lived not too far from that area. And I said to the village elder, I said, "I have to leave and probably will not be back to see you. But can I leave this man to come in my place? I'll leave the book with him, and he will come back and he will read to you from the book about the Great Spirit." The village elder said, "Oh, we would like that very much." And so that's how we left it. And now this Christian is discipling in preparation for evangelism in that particular village.
We want to remind all of our great faithful listeners to our podcast that we do have a website that has all kinds of fabulous prizes on it. It has gifts. It has all kinds of resources that you can get. It has hot links to other really good websites and other resources. And it also has our show notes for all of our episodes. So please do visit our website. We found that a number of our subscribers and listeners aren't actually going to our website and taking advantage of all these great resources. So please do. You'll find that website at www.godnews.podomatic.com. Again, that is godnews.podomatic.com. And you'll find on the left-hand side of the page all of our show notes and all of our episodes. And on each one of those, you're actually able to press a button and play and watch and listen to that particular episode. You're able to look at hot links that are on the show notes there. And you're also able to place a comment after you've listened to that podcast. So please do put comments on the website after you've listened to our podcast episodes. It really helps us and it helps others to know what that episode was like for them. Also, on the right-hand side of the page, you'll find some hot links that you can just simply click on to send us an email. Our email address is godnews@podomatic.com. godnews@podomatic.com. And you can just simply, on the right-hand side of the page, click that hot link, and it'll open up your email program, and you can send us an email. Also, there's a hot link for joining our mailing list. So if you're wanting to get all of our news and all of the latest information about our podcast episodes, you're able to actually just click that hot link and join our mailing list. Also, if you're in the U.S., you can make a phone call to us. It's a free phone call, and the phone number is area code 206-202-0584. And so you can just send us a voicemail, and we'll get back to you ASAP. Also, if you don't have that capability, you can actually just click a hot link that says record a comment. And then a little window will come up and allow you to actually record a comment or a message to us. And what we love to do is actually in our episodes play those recorded comments back to all of our viewers to listen to. And also any written emails will also read over our episodes so that others can be blessed by them. Also on the right-hand side of the page, a little bit lower, is called Embed This Podcast. And what that means is that you're actually able, say you have your own website or your MySpace or a Facebook or whatever it might be, or your own blog, you can actually get some coding when you click that button, and it will enable you to embed one of our players of our podcast right into your website. And so it'll just automatically show up with all of the podcasts that people can select, and a really attractive little player that people can take advantage of and play our episodes, our vidcasts or our audio casts right on there. And also right below that, we have subscribe to iTunes. And we always encourage people to use iTunes because it's such an easy, user-friendly podcast receiver. Sometimes we call this a podcast aggregator. And so there are several aggregators there that you can click on. Find your favorite one that you like to subscribe to podcasts, and you can just click it and subscribe to our podcast. And two of our favorite, and I think many people's favorite podcast aggregators or receivers are Juice and iTunes. Juice and iTunes, two different ones. iTunes probably the most common. And if you don't have that, you can download the software for that either for a PC or for a Macintosh at www.apple.com/iTunes. That's apple.com/iTunes. And you can download that, as I said before, for either a PC or a Macintosh. Doesn't matter. Also, another great aggregator for podcasts is Juice. And Juice can be gotten at this URL. It's a little bit more difficult. www.juicereceiver.sourceforge.net. That's juicereceiver.sourceforge.net. And you can download that for free as well. And it also works for either PCs or Macintosh. And finally, what we'd like to ask you to do is think about giving a donation to our podcast. This is done completely as a nonprofit organization, nonprofit podcast. And so we'd love it if you could help us to continue with this by clicking on our PayPal donation and making a donation. It doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, or $500. It's all going to help us to continue this podcast and to continue giving really good quality content of exciting things that God's doing around the world. So we really would appreciate it if you would make a donation to this podcast so we can continue giving you these exciting content. Okay, and so thank you again, and please do remember to come to our website at godnews.podomatic.com.
Don't know what I did to deserve you. Maybe it's something I haven't done yet, but it's clear to see what you've done for me. I'll be paying back forever. You're my strength when I'm not strong. You're my hope when mine's all gone. You forgive me when I've done wrong. When I've done wrong. Talking about you. From above, talking about universal love, sent from above. I'm watching you sleep.